So,
Follow-up.
follow-up.
Welcome back to another invigorating episode of David and Aaron Save the World. Thank you.
Indeed.
Follow-up.
Yes, this is interesting. I think this is the first time I've done follow-up. Usually you're the one that
Really?
comes with follow-up, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
I mean, we're only on episode 4, but this is new to me. This is
Right.
new.
This is a momentous occasion.
And so my follow-up that I wanted to bring up is related to follow-up from last time when you pulled out that giant box of Big Turks. And you generously offered one of the many Big Turks that were in that box.
And you ate it?
And I did eat it.
And?
And it was amazing. I have to be honest, when you were so excited about Big Turks,
Yeah.
I thought I had eaten Big Turks in Australia.
Mhm.
It must have been some other like Turkish Delight or something.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't quite the same brand. The packaging looked different at least. Maybe it was the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I ate the Big Turk you gave me,
Yeah.
it was so much better than any of the other candies I'd had before like it. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I thought I didn't like the ones I had in Australia. So I was just kind of being nice. Like,
Oh,
okay,
no.
I'll take this Turkish Delight, even though they're
I
kind
will.
of gross.
I will eat this for you, only for you, but I will eat it.
And then I was amazed and I loved it. So my
Good.
question is,
Okay.
the next time your girlfriend's family's in town and brings you Big Turks, can you have them smuggle me in some as well? 'Cause
I will request.
I will definitely be willing to pay whatever the price is. I don't know how much you charge per kilo, but
I charge a pretty hefty price. You can't get that here, so I'll charge definitely less than Amazon does, though. You ever tried to buy candy on Amazon? It's so expensive. I can't believe it. So I'll charge less than Amazon charges, though.
Well, that's good. I have tried to buy, because in Australia, one of the things that's really different is they don't have ketchup.
What?
They have what's called tomato sauce, as they would say it. And
Really?
yeah. And
Huh.
it's like ketchup, but it's a lot less sweet. Americans obviously make a lot of things sweeter
Yeah.
than most people in the world.
It's sweeter.
And so, like, whenever I try and explain it to people, they just don't understand the difference. And it's not something you can describe really well.
Okay.
And there's certain things I actually liked it better on.
Oh,
Like, they would
okay.
eat it a lot with, like, sausages and stuff. They don't really have hot dogs. They have more of, like, these sausages they grill and things.
Right.
And it worked really well with those types of things. But I tried to buy one of those on Amazon. It was like, $25 or something crazy for a bottle. I'm like, I'm not buying that. I'm not paying that price. That's ridiculous.
It's
I
absolutely
mean, to be fair,
ridiculous.
it's coming across the ocean, but still.
But that doesn't. I'm not buying that because I could send a flat rate package for less than that across the ocean. Well, maybe not, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can get China stuff for like $1. Like I should be able, and that's slow boated over. I don't even know which direction they go. Probably over the Pacific
I think so.
for $1.
Yeah.
I guess perishables.
I think there'll be a point where we just have like a giant underwater tube or like chute that we can just throw packages through the ocean and they just end up on our side.
like the bank, but
yeah,
like
exactly.
the transatlantic
Yeah.
bankers.
Well, Trans-Pacific.
Trans-Pacific and transatlantic. I guess for Australia, you need the Trans-Pacific, though.
Yeah. I was just thinking specifically from us to China because we buy so much
Oh.
stuff from them that
Okay.
it probably makes sense to probably invest some time just in some super fast transport system.
Yeah.
I don't know how much underwater tubing costs, but
Dude.
nor the hydraulic system it would take to push
my
things through there. But
Goodness, that would be amazing. No, you'd have to do like Elon Musk's Hyperloop,
oh yeah.
where each package is self-propelling, because you couldn't
Yeah.
pressurizing the whole tube and doing all the stuff to get the tube to work. Bother. Just each canister has a rocket on it. Just zips
Your
down.
stuff will get there really quickly. It may not come intact, but we'll get there as it crashes in on the other side.
It broke apart near the halfway point, and we lost it. Sorry.
We were putting about 30 G's on it, but that's probably a little bit too much now, looking back.
Looking back, yeah, I wouldn't put people in that tube. No way. Deadly dangerous.
Anyways, so Big Turks. Thumbs up.
Got a strong thumbs up from David on Big Turks. I'm so happy. I'm so happy, and I will definitely try and get you more Big Turks. On a side note, with Big Turks, do you like orange sticks, like the sweets?
I'll eat them. Not something I crave very often.
Okay. Have you had any of the other flavors?
I've had raspberry, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one's a little bit better, in my opinion. But still, the like gelatin stuff, I'm not a huge
You're not
fan.
a big fan of the texture and the way the gelatin is. Okay, that's fair. They actually changed their formula recently.
Oh, yeah?
And it's less good. I'm like, how could you guys do this? Now it irritates my mouth just a little bit more. Like the back of my throat is like a little bit upset. Kind of like the same way Starburst do to me.
Okay.
And so I'm just like, I'm a little bit sad, but it won't stop me from eating those. I just, Big Turk is kind of like a jelly candy. I was like, I wonder if it's nice.
Yeah, but the texture is so much better. So much better.
Fair. It is super good. Next thing for you to try is a cherry ripe.
I feel like that's one I have had in Australia.
Okay, good.
Is it a Cadbury product?
I think so.
Yeah, because Cadbury was huge in Australia.
Oh, really?
They were the candy king over there.
Okay.
So
the mans.
If it's the Cadbury version, which I think it is, if I'm not mistaken,
so, yeah,
I've had it.
It's like a mounds, but cherry. It's like a coconut. It's like chocolate covered coconut bar, but the coconut's also cherry flavored. It's red.
Oh, maybe not then.
Don't worry, I have a bunch in my house. I'll bring one for you to try.
I'm not generally a fan of cherry, but
really,
yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say because with the orange sticks, there's orange, there's raspberry, there's cherry, there's also blueberry. Blueberry might be my favorite.
Interesting, but I will try.
Not a big
regardless.
fan of cherry pie. Cherry pie? How do you feel about cherry pie?
I thought that was a candy you were referencing.
No, sorry.
Just general cherry pie.
Just cherry pie.
No, I can't do it. We probably should have talked about this earlier.
Definitely should have. David, I love cherry pie. It's one of my favorites.
If this is terms for stopping the pie, I understand. I can tell how much this means to you.
No, it's okay. I'll just bring cherry pie next time and I'll eat it all by myself the next time I make you a cherry pie.
Here you go, David. Oh, I don't like this stuff. Okay.
Pull
it back.
Pulls back and starts spooning into mouth. The worst way to eat a pie, like just from the center. Just start eating it out of the center.
That is not OCD friendly whatsoever.
Does that bother you, David?
Yes. I can just envision it and I'm cringing already.
Me with a big spoon. Home.
Unequally spaced. It's not even just one hole. It's like multiple holes through the cherry pie.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to people. That's terrible. That's truly terrible.
That would be awful.
Take a bite out of one part and take a bite out of another part, all in the middle, and then take some of the side off and scrape out some of the crust on the bottom underneath the cherry filling because I wanted the crust and the...
You can see the red juice on top of the pan.
No.
Oh, sorry. We don't mean to make people cringe. We'll move on to something else.
Interesting. You don't like cherry.
Yeah.
That's fair. I understand. I mean, I kind of understand.
I feel like you're going to have some type of candy exchange program, once a week, where you give me one of your candies that you like, and I try it, and I tell you whether it's good or not.
Okay.
Because
I like this.
Because I have a more general taste bud. I don't know. I guess I'm not speaking for the world. I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah. That's fair. I don't know. I can't think of very many others. Oh, have you had it's a German candy. It's this long and this wide and flat. Very flat, almost like a Laffy Taffy, but way flat. And it's got a similar texture to Laffy Taffy, but it's better. It both holds together and separates better. So it's not like Laffy Taffy where you try to pull it apart and it's everywhere. It's a lot sturdier, and they're German. I think they're called Softig?
I have not had this.
Okay. I have to get you some. Because they changed my life for years. Okay, so I had these candies once when I was a kid, like a really little kid. And for years I thought about them. And I loved them in my mind. And then one day, there's this store that opened up. And we went. As a family, it's like a fun, all of the weird stuff from everywhere, all over the world. They have little chocolate penguins and they have this amazing candy section. And one day, the first day that we were there, we were walking around and I saw them and I remembered them and I got them and I ate one and it was amazing. It was just as good as I remembered from my childhood, which is a rare occasion. And I was so happy.
And then bells started sounding, birds were singing, music rang. And...
Yes, definitely.
And you were
and
just
then
in a fantasy land all on your own for about 10 minutes. No one could talk to you.
Yep.
They couldn't break you out of it.
As I consumed a whole box of Softigs. Not a small box either, like a sizable box of just little candies. Oh, they were so good. I'll get some more. I've been meaning to get more, so I'll get more and I'll share them with you. Okay. And I will convert you to my ways.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
I don't know
It means free candy for me, so.
True. I think that's fair. You know what? On candy and sweets, I love candy and sweets. That's like my favorite thing.
I can tell based on how many more. It seems like you have more and more stories that you can just keep telling.
I do. I could go on like this forever. But
we should have a whole episode. The candy episode.
The candy episode. We can have candy here. Well, I mean, I've got a backpack. We can have candy here. And shh, don't tell them.
We're not supposed to have candy in the sound booth.
We'd like open a candy bar and that guy from day one would come in and be like, "You're not supposed to have that." Sorry. No, but there's a soda joint where they have like tons of candy and then like all this different like brands of bottled soda, like glass bottles.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun. And I went there and I got a cookie dough soda and it was
Really?
so fun. Fun is the best word to describe it.
Was it good?
I liked it. It was kind of
The
strange.
soda was fun, but was it good? That's what I want to know.
It was good. On a childish day, I would buy it again when I was
Okay.
feeling very like I want something, like a day where I'd buy those wax soda bottle things and like a big Smarties. Like on a day like that, I would buy that soda again.
So what I'm hearing is that soda was not good.
I guess I did just put it with those wax.
It tastes like Smarties, is what I'm getting.
No, it doesn't taste like Smarties. It just tastes like
It's the same category as Smarties, though. So
yeah,
Not
yeah. I
good.
think it is. And then those those little nasty little wax soda bottle things.
the bottle
Do you know what I'm
caps.
talking- Not the well, because there's the bottle caps by Wonka. They're like
Right.
those are really good. I really like the root beer flavor of those ones.
Those ones are good. Yes.
But there's like they come in a little package and there's like 4 different bottles. And
Oh, they're like
colored.
little mini bottles.
Yeah, they're like little
Yeah,
baby
yeah.
bottles, but they're like wax, and you like have to like bite the wax off to get the juice out of the inside. But then I
Yeah.
guess originally like they were intended for like you could just chew on the wax. Like it was supposed to be like
Ew.
it's food safe wax. So like,
Sounds nasty.
dude, they are. They're terrible. I don't like. I remember them from my childhood, and then I get them, and I'm like, it's sugar inside wax. I'm like, not good at all. But it's a memory. Do you remember those little barrels? Little
Yes.
barrel drinks? Those are awesome.
Yes, those are good.
I love those. Anyway, I digress.
Yes, all good things. My other bit of follow-up.
Okay, yeah.
My other bit of follow-up that I want to talk about. I want to make it clear is as I've been going back and have been editing all of the episodes,
Mm-hmm.
I realized how much sometimes it sounds like we're complaining about everything in the world. And so I just want to make it clear to people, me and Aaron are both very like optimistic, happy-go-lucky people. We're generally not complaining about trivial things in life, but the podcast is like a perfect place to do that. So we normally wouldn't complain about things so trivial. Like it really doesn't upset us as much as it may sound like it does on the podcast. So
I have to, I agree with that, because every time I've been showing like members of my family some snippets of the podcast to kind of, and they love it, but because they're my family. But every time I'm listening to it over and over again, like I'll listen to one section. I listened to the dress store story 4 times, and by the 4th time, I was so.
You get kind of like mad at yourself, like listening to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I was like disconnected from that person that I was when I recorded. I was like, that was not me. That's not my idea. Like, I like going to the dress store with my girlfriend. I like doing this. Like, I complained so much about it, but I enjoyed my time. Like, it was a good time. I made it sound like it was just the worst time ever. But I had fun. I was doing things I didn't mind, really, truly, deep in my heart.
Right.
It was fine. But we do sound very complainy sometimes.
Yeah, when I was listening to myself, I had the same thought of like, who's this whiny brat on this show? Like, you should be grateful for all the things he has, but he's this whiny little kid, man.
Right.
So we are again discussing lighthearted, trivial topics generally.
Yes.
So
Yes.
hopefully we don't come across too much as being complainers or
Right. We're
that type of thing.
We're not cynical. We're happy people. I promise. We are happy. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I've been thinking and trying to find content for a section of the podcast where we discuss a problem well solved rather than a problem to be solved. If I could begin this section. It's a silly thing. Do you remember at like Walmarts and stuff, there was this big bin of like these weird looking plastic things that had like a slot and like a bowl shape on them? And I saw them and I was like, what is that monstrosity? And I go over and I pick it up, and within a few seconds I figured out what it was. It was a holder for like a popsicle. Like a popsicle stick slides into the slot. And then when you can't eat your popsicle as fast as it melts, because that's my problem usually. The drippings come and fall into the cup, into the bowl shape.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see it.
And so you have this little plastic holder. Your hand doesn't get messy. You can eat your popsicle at whatever speed you want, as long as you don't eat it too slowly. And you don't ever have to touch the stick.
That is brilliant.
Right?
Why didn't I think of that?
That's one of those things where I can't believe I didn't think about that. That's genius. And they were selling them for like $1 a piece. Like, that dude's making $1 on this little piddly piece of plastic.
That is solving many problems for many people.
Indeed. I can see some technical application problems, but for the most part, I was like, this is a problem well solved.
I was going to say, first thing that came to my mind is, what if the popsicle's not shaped right on the bottom? But
many problems, but that's okay. It might be the first generation of its kind, and
the first of many to follow in the optimal package for popsicle. What would you call that?
Popsicle holder.
I was hoping for a cooler name.
The pop handle.
Ooh, I like that. Of pop handles.
To handle your pop.
Super pop.
Well,
handle.
To handle your popsicle. Not your pop, because they already have those too.
It'll follow the same naming convention of like video game consoles. It'll be like pop handle, super pop handle 64, pop handle 360.
I love
and then
it.
it goes back to pop handle 1 for some reason. We don't know why.
And then pop handle infinity, and then pop handle. to go back to the original, you've run out of names. So.
By that time, it has its own like cooling unit
Right.
on the holder, so your popsicle can't melt as you're eating
melts. Right. If you drop some, it either vaporizes it before it hits the floor, or it catches it. You'll have a couple different options.
It has an accelerometer on it that determines if it's falling, and so it like brings this metal casing around the popsicle so it doesn't spill or anything.
Yes.
Like we used to have on laptops that were like froze the hard drive if it fell.
Oh yeah.
But for popsicles.
Yeah. Freezes the popsicle. It just freezes it all the way. So it just falls like a rock, and it just doesn't break. It doesn't do anything. It just.
But it shoots like an encoding on the popsicle that will melt off any germs that were on the floor or anything.
Yes.
And then you can pick it up and
yes.
that all melts off and goes away.
You could have a parachute, like an ejection system too. It starts falling and it's just like punk, and then a little parachute and it floats down to the ground inside a metal casing and an encoded freezing capsule. So that, I believe that is a problem well solved, and I hope for many more problems like that to have good solutions.
Yes, and definitely a good solution that doesn't involve a $300 cooling unit and accelerometer system for a popsicle handle. I think Pop Handle V1 is good for right now.
It's a good starting place for the future of $10,000 pop handles. Someday, gold plated, indestructible, self-cooled.
It'll be like Apple Watches. You can get like the gold band if you want on your Apple Watch. You can get a gold pop handle, 12 karat or whatever it may be.
Right. Solid gold or solid platinum, or then there's like the base aluminum version. That's just
just for your common man.
Right. Just if you needed a pop handle, you could buy the $2,000 aluminum self-cooled pop handle. Easy.
the more affordable option for everyone.
Right. I mean, your $30,000 solid gold one is going to be a little pricey, so.
You didn't really need that car, did you? I mean,
no.
you could get a loan for your gold-plated pop handle.
If you get a car and you don't get a pop handle, you know what's going to happen? You're going to spill your popsicle. You're going to drop it in your car. Then what? Pop handles.
Indeed.
It's the future.
Yeah, I like your idea of, maybe incorporating problems we've solved at some point. We'll have to think that through. But yes, pop handle, definitely.
Pop handle.
A good problem well solved. Well, now that we've finished up talking about how we shouldn't be complaining as much, let me start off with complaining about something that really irked me this week.
Okay.
Again, something probably trivial that I wouldn't normally complain about to most people. But right. I think this is a problem that should be solved. So.
It is a problem that should be solved. Every problem is a problem that should be solved. And this is a problem for you. And it should be solved, David.
I'm glad you're saying that, even though you have no idea what I'm going to say about it.
That's true. I should probably hold my tongue.
So here's the story. I was going through some of my old stuff this week. And I happened upon some old CDs for some old PC games that I used to like as a kid.
That's amazing.
And I pulled them out. I'm like, no way. Like, I haven't played these in ages.
Right. And which games were they?
So just for context, again, keep in mind, this was when I was very young.
Okay.
But the first one was Jumpstart Third Grade Mystery Mountain. Have you played that game before?
That's amazing. I have not played that game. I think I had a different set of those kind of games, though. I know exactly the kind of game you're talking about.
But Mystery Mountain was way better than all the other Jumpstart games. Because your main, you can see why I would like this. Your main, like, person that helps you out in the game is a robot. And you're trying to help all the other robots kind of, like, take control back of Mystery Mountain because the professor's daughter has, like, used it for evil purposes, and she has access to a time machine, and she's changing the past, and you're trying to help fix it. And anyways,
That
It's
sounds
an awesome game.
incredibly involved for such a
Yeah.
such a game.
It was hard for a third grade game. It was way beyond what most third graders should be capable of. But that's why I loved it, because like
Yeah.
it challenged me and it was a fun game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so I pulled it out, and that one I was actually able to get to work on Windows 10, which I was surprised. I was amazed. I was like,
Really?
it was running in like 256 color mode with 640 resolution, 640 by 480.
Right. It's like a little tiny screen on your huge monitor.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, I finally figured out how to get it to go full screen. It's still a crappy resolution, but
Right.
but it works, and it was awesome. And I still played it, and I still enjoyed it, even though it was, meant for third graders. But
That's beautiful, David.
But it
That's
was
beautiful.
it's a great game. Good music too.
Really?
Yeah, I've been listening to the playlist for the soundtrack on YouTube, and that's actually a really good soundtrack for just like studying and stuff.
I think I'm more amazed by the fact that the playlist is on YouTube rather than that you listen to it. I'm like, wait, somebody put it on YouTube?
Someone else has good taste too, so they understand.
You have to send me this playlist.
Okay,
I have to listen to this.
They understand how amazing Mystery Mountain is, obviously.
Right. They feel similarly.
So I was really excited about that, and I played the game, and it was awesome. It was nostalgic.
Mhm.
But I found another game, also very old. It was based on the animated Batman series from the 90s.
Oh.
And it was one of those activity centers game where it's like you solve like jigsaw puzzles and do like the matching game and those types of things, but they're all based on whatever the theme is. And this one, it was the Batman show.
Batman. Okay, yeah.
And
yeah,
so, again, really simple game.
Mhm.
I played that game all the time, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
But this one did not work on Windows 10.
Bummer.
And I remember this game very specifically, and I wanted to play it again because it's where I first learned the Towers of Hanoi problem. Do you know that?
Which one
scenario?
is that?
You have like 3 different stacks, and there's a set of rings that get from bigger to smaller,
Yeah.
and you have to move the tower from one stack to the other stack without having to place a smaller disk below a larger disk or a larger disk on top of a smaller disk.
Right.
And so you have to move the disks in such a way that you get the tower from one end to the other.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, it's a really famous problem, and it's actually really easy to solve. It's very periodic. It has a very simple pattern that you follow.
I can I'm working out the pattern in my head as we're
Yeah.
talking. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see it.
But anyways, that was the first time I'd learned that game was on that Batman game. And so
Okay.
that was one of the things I was trying to see and wanted to do, and so I really wanted to get this game to work, and I couldn't get it to work on Windows 10.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was like, well, I've used virtual machines before on my laptop. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's basically where you get this little program on your computer and you install a new operating system and it acts inside this program. You may be running Windows 10, but you have another window open that's running another operating system.
Right.
And Windows basically has released all the operating systems before Windows XP.
Really?
Because they know that they're not worth anything anymore. Like, there's nothing you can use.
Oh, what if somebody takes it? Like, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
You can find really old operating systems like Windows 95, Windows 98, DOS, those types of things just online. And
Wow,
so I was
okay,
like,
yeah.
I'm going to set up a Windows 98 virtual machine on my computer so I
Yeah.
can run this old game.
Easy.
So I download the operating system. I set up a virtual machine on my laptop. Go through the setup, which still took like an hour, surprisingly, because I don't know. It just still ran really slow for some reason.
They probably only allotted out of your computer, like it was probably only using what a Windows 98 computer would have
Yeah,
used out
probably.
of your big, strong Windows 10 computer. So
I tried to give it more in the virtual machine, but it probably just doesn't. The system probably doesn't even know what to do with 1 gigabyte of RAM because it never has seen that.
Right, it's like, holy moly, what's all this space of RAM? I don't know what to do with all this.
Yeah. Anyway, so I run the setup. Everything's good. I put the disk in to run the program, run
Yeah.
this Batman game.
Yeah.
And I look at the operating system, and the operating system is running in 16-bit color mode. Or not, sorry, it's running in just 16 color mode, not 256 color mode, which the game apparently needed to run. And so it still
Okay.
didn't run on that old Windows 98 machine.
What?
And like I looked up tutorials and all these things to see if I could like update the graphics driver. I
Right.
tried like 2 of them. Both of them just like crashed my system. And I
Really?
still couldn't get this game to run.
That's ridiculous. I'm amazed at how hard it is to get old games to run like that. So
I did eventually, after like 3 or 4 tutorials, finally found one that worked.
okay,
I
yeah.
was able to get it to run, but the sound quality was still pretty bad. But I was really excited because it ran.
Yeah.
But only one game in the system did not work, and it was that Towers of Hanoi game that I wanted to play.
No.
I'm like, I wanted to. That's the whole reason I installed this, because I wanted to see this old Towers of Hanoi game that it had on there.
Right.
And anyways,
Naturally.
many hours drained trying to get
Yeah.
this thing work, and it just didn't work.
And it still didn't. That's the only game you wanted was the only one that didn't work.
And
That's how it
kind of
goes.
like you were saying, I'm surprised how hard it is to get old games to work.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there's a very specific era of games that is hard to get to work. And it's that era around the late 90s. Because games that were like 95 and before, every one of them usually just ran on DOS. And you can get a pretty good emulator for DOS. DOSBox is a big one that a lot of people use.
Okay.
There's online websites that will run DOS games for you. Like those are really easy to get.
Yeah.
Anything that was designed for like Windows XP and onward will usually run on Windows 7 or Windows 10. Like
Yeah.
those games are fine, but it's that era in between DOS and Windows XP where it's really hard to get a lot of those games to work.
Right.
And I was just noticing that today. I was frustrated
Mm-hmm.
that there wasn't anyone online that had like an emulator for it or anything like that. There's no simple setup to run things.
Right.
It seems like. And the other thing that was interesting is I was thinking about too, it's also the era where a lot of things started going from VHS to DVDs.
Oh,
And there's a lot of like VHSs in that time frame that kind of just disappeared and never made it to DVD. And we don't have any like digital copies of them either. So like, for example, did you ever watch the Hercules animated TV show?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Disney did this TV show of Hercules
Yeah.
in like high school.
Okay.
He goes to like Promethean Academy and he runs into Icarus.
Do
remember this
I
now?
didn't watch it, but I remember
Yeah.
that. I still, yeah.
I have this VHS of that show. That was just like Disney did this a lot back then, where they would just put like 3 episodes of their TV shows onto a VHS
Yeah.
and try and connect them in some way or something like that. Something really shady website just to kind of like promote the TV show.
Mhm.
But I have very fond memories of that VHS. It's called Zero to Hero. And there's no way to get it on Amazon or DVD, no cloud
Really?
streaming. There's a couple of like shady websites that have uploaded that will put tons of viruses on your computer when you do.
Right.
But there's no way to access that material.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, I feel like I'm getting robbed because I grew up in that late 90s era and like none of my childhood in many aspects is accessible in that time frame.
That's so sad.
So I guess my question or my problem here
Okay.
is obviously the late 90s is very important to me. But in general, I feel like there's a lot of things that could be like digitally archived in some way.
Oh.
And we haven't done that. And so is there a way we could save the world by making sure information doesn't get lost? Childhoods don't get, lost and destroyed in these,
Right.
by no fault of their own, just simply through neglect.
Right. This poor. I see this problem where there's the time where you were introduced to it, that you loved it as a child, and then there's a building time where things changed, and you loved it, but you didn't know things were changing, and then now that you're on the other side of the change, there's almost no way to go back. That's the problem that you're facing, is that you still love this thing, and you have the ability, the technicality, you have the ability to go back and save these things, but there's no bridge back. You can't.
Right.
You know how to, but you cannot. It's
Right.
gone.
I like that.
And that is, I agree. I have similar feelings with some of those old games. Steam actually saved me by
yeah.
bringing Roller Coaster Tycoon, the original Roller
Yes,
Coaster Tycoon.
yes,
back.
that was one I downloaded right away. When I saw it.
Yeah. Steam sale like $5. I was like, yeah, buy the whole pack, buy everything. They had Did you ever play Locomotion?
I didn't get that far, but
That one was the bomb. Even though when I played it, these games, they were amazing, but as a child, I was not capable of actually playing them all the way, you know? Like, I had these games, but I couldn't play them.
I just got tired after about 30 minutes and then made the roller coasters shorter than they were supposed to be and, like, had people fly off.
Right.
Crash. Because that's hilarious when you're, like, 7 years old. You know?
The worst was the dinghy slide, though.
Yes.
Because if you screwed up once, this was my least favorite thing. Because what would happen if you had a drop and then a bump? What would happen is if the bump was too severe, the sled would come off the track and smash into the rest of the coaster. And the problem was not that happened. Because I could deal with that. I could redesign the coaster. That's fine. The problem was that once it crashed, then this coaster, this dinghy slide, is stuck in a crashed state, and you can't get it out of the crashed state. You can't fix the coaster. You have to rebuild the coaster. Mm-hmm. So you have to delete the whole thing and start again. And it's the most frustrating thing because you just barely finished it, and the time has been going, so you've been losing money on it anyway. This is a new frustration and an old frustration that I've had with this game. Anyway, back to what's important. So there are these things. And some companies have been able to save them, like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Steam. Steam has been they saved some of the things for games, but that's not a broad enough solution. Steam is not. I'm thinking for your problem along the lines of what Wikipedia has set up, but not quite. Wikipedia has an online index of topics that are extensive, pretty much all inclusive of all the things that we know something about. Like, you can find almost anything on the Wikipedia, and it's open to everyone to edit and to add information. So it's this huge database of information, but it's not the right kind of information. It's a lot of text information. Just it's like a dictionary it's an encyclopedia. That's what it is. It's like the World Book, but on the internet and bigger, a lot bigger. And that's not a good enough solution for your problem. You need something more.
I do. I agree.
I think the way that comes to mind is a data center. But not just any data center. A data center to rival all other data centers. A server system that can support the entirety of the digital information of this world. That's what you need.
Sounds simple enough.
I mean, yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too hard.
I agree that would probably solve the problem.
Right.
If you could set that up. I mean, there's kind of two unrelated problems here.
Okay.
The first problem is kind of what you're talking about, is that I feel like, especially with things being digital, there's so much human effort that has been expounded for games and movies and all these types of things in the past, that anything that's digital, because it's so simple to back up something digitally, I feel like it should be pretty easy to have this stuff available somewhere. Yeah. Right? Whatever that system may be. The huge data center has every digital file that ever existed in the world.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Indexed very nicely.
Indexed very nicely. That's not a problem. It's simple. But the other problem is having ways to access that, and having ways to, play those old games, watch those old shows. That doesn't involve using shady sites that people have uploaded illegally content. And so one thing I would like to see is, for example, going back to the Windows 98 games, for example. It's really hard for Windows 10 to be backwards compatible with those games, understandably, because you have to upgrade the hardware. And as you make those upgrades, you have to lose some backwards compatibility because you're not going to allow for your architecture to play 16-bit games when you're running 64-bit games and that type of thing. So that's understandable.
Yeah.
But it seems like Windows 98 is a small enough system that we have so many other cloud-based systems that why not have Windows 98 servers and Windows 2000 servers and these types of things where I don't care if it's like a paid subscription or something, whatever it may be, however you want to fund this. Why can't I just like sign into some server and have access to that library and start playing those games that are stored on a Windows 98 server?
Right. That makes perfect sense.
That would be amazing. I don't know if it'd be profitable, but it would be amazing because I feel like we have enough technology and a lot of those games are so simple. Yeah, that we should be able to access them.
Oh yeah, we definitely. There's no question in my mind that is easily doable. That's nonsense that we couldn't do it. I could wrestle up a Windows 98 computer, plug it into the wall, and have it play your games for you. Like that's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is funding, because with our data center, you can just lop off a section of servers for old operating systems that just run the old operating systems on those servers.
It really wouldn't, in all honesty, it really wouldn't take that much space per like Windows 98 machine. Like,
no, yeah.
The whole download file for Windows 98 when I did it was like 200 megs or something, like
Really?
It was really small. I mean, these are small systems.
Yeah, that's tiny.
Yeah. So that should work. And I'm just sad that hasn't happened.
Indeed.
Because it's much more burdensome for me to try and get that to work on my machine with all the drivers and all that.
Yeah.
Than it would to be just to set up a general purpose one. And just go over the cloud and access it and run it that way.
Yeah.
Because these aren't complex games.
No.
And they don't require stunning visuals, so you wouldn't lose a ton from the bandwidth and that type of thing.
Right.
In terms of videos, though, going back to that Hercules TV show, for example.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a beef with Disney.
Oh, no. Okay.
Because they're really bad at allowing access to their copyrighted material and shows and movies. They like to keep things in the Disney vault so they can release them later and make a ton of money when they make some terrible live action version of their show nowadays. Ruins my childhood. We'll talk about that later. But I feel like we should have this regulation with copyright. We talk about copyright a lot, or a lot of people talk about copyright with this idea that you don't want to limit the ability of someone to make money off of their copyrighted material. That's why copyright exists, so that the original maker of the material gets the most amount of possible income from that material and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is great. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I get really mad when we still enforce copyright and that person is not selling the copyrighted material in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So for example, old TV shows, video game soundtracks, that type of thing.
Okay.
I feel like we should be enforcing rules that people that have that copyright also should have means of letting people access it if they no longer intend in using it for making money.
Okay.
Or if they want to hold on to that copyright, they should at least have like a date that it will be accessible or something. Like we shouldn't let this material just fade away.
Right.
Because a lot of the times I'm not making money on it anymore. I'm just going to keep it to myself.
Yeah.
And then the material just kind of gets lost after that.
Right.
Like the Hercules TV show. I don't see Disney ever making money off of that ever again. If they do, if anyone from Disney is listening to this, let me know, because I want to know the day that you're planning on using the Hercules TV show again.
Seriously, just send it over. We'll fully support it on our podcast.
Yes. But if you're not going to make money off of it anymore, then make it accessible. Or go make money off of it, like people want it.
Right.
Then it just makes me mad that we allow things that are copyrighted to kind of fade away for the sake of copyright. Because I'm sure people have tried uploading it to YouTube and that type of thing, and I'm sure Disney's taking it down.
Yeah.
They're really strict on that type of
They
thing.
just thumbs down, copyright it, and
Yeah,
throw a copyright infringement complaint, and
yeah. But
it's game over.
But if the whole point of copyright is to allow the people that should be making money on it to make money on it, and they're not using it to make money, then what's the point of the copyright? Or what's the point of restricting it if you're not going to be using it anymore? So
Okay.
on those older TV shows and that type of thing, or soundtracks and stuff like that in general,
Yeah.
I'm just like, let's allow people to access it or make money on it. You know, if I'll pay for that stuff if you let me pay you for it. If you let me have it.
Right. I agree with you mostly. I mostly
Okay.
agree.
I've
I've only got one problem, and it's the same problem that, like, it's not a problem. It's how I feel in my own personal life, and it's that, like, I have things that I've created, and I don't really want to sell them, but I also, well, I guess if I could sell them, I would, but if I could. But the idea behind the copyright, I think it's true mostly. It's for the ability to protect your ability to make money on the things that you create. Like, no one can just take my photo if I copyright my photo. Like, this is my photo,
Right.
and I've copyrighted it, and you will not take this and make money off of it because it's mine. That's illegal. But I think even more so, it can be used almost a step further to really actually, the name is copyright, protect the right of copy. It's also the right to own the content completely. Not just, it's not content that's free to the world or that's paid to the world. Like that is a paid content for the world. It's your content for your stuff, and you enforce the copyright to say, this is mine, and I will do with it what I please.
Right. And I agree with that, but you're thinking in the scenario of like my personal things that I have made, which I understand.
Okay. Yeah.
But we're talking about things that have already been publicly released at some point for making money.
Okay.
So once you've done that, you've allowed your work to go out to the world at one point already.
Okay.
So what's the point at retracting that content back to yourself,
Right.
and saying, I don't want anyone to see this anymore?
With no intent of
ever selling it again.
Right, because I can see the old Disney classic movies, how they do increase the value of it by retracting it and giving it back, and retracting it and giving it back. But that makes sense for stuff that just it's retracted and disappears into the abyss of information loss that just happens.
Yeah, and there's some that Disney has retracted. One of the big examples is Song of the South. I don't know if you know this. You cannot find Song of the South anywhere.
Really?
Really old Disney movie, because it has a lot of, racial stuff that's not proper nowadays. It's not acceptable.
Wow.
And that I'm still not sure how I think about that, because it's like, if it's historical content, should we be retracting it? I don't know. It's obviously ideas that we do not promote anymore and are not socially acceptable.
Right.
But if
it's
it's historically accurate to the ideas of the day, should we still allow it as something that you can historically reference?
Ooh, that's a rough question.
That may need to be something we talk about at a different time.
Yeah, I need to think on that one.
That one I can understand Disney saying, we want to retract this. We don't want the public to access this anymore because it doesn't show the ideas and the values of Disney right now.
Right. That makes sense.
We no longer condone these types of views and that type of thing. So that makes sense. But if it's something like the Hercules TV show or some of these old cartoons that don't have anything that's, morally,
backwards
or unacceptable. Yeah.
Unacceptable. Yeah, that's better.
Then why? Then why not allow it to be accessed? That's my go-to. Allow access for copyrighted material if it has been publicly released before, and it no longer is being used to make money, then why not release it to the public?
Okay. Yeah.
That's my question.
Okay. I don't have an answer for that question. I have a solution for the problem, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
That's what we're all about here on Save the World. on our data center,
Okay.
our great data
It
center.
has everything in the world.
Yes.
That one.
Stores as much digital information as we can reasonably pack into the biggest data center in the history of time. On top of that, what we could have is a management system. So old content could be still behind, like, okay, so I see this almost in my head. It's almost worked out all the way. But there's the data itself on the lowest level, and then on the highest level there's the owner of the information, the people who own copyrights, the people who created the information. And the idea behind the data center is to pretty much back everything up in the world.
Okay.
To the data center. Yeah.
Okay.
To save it all. And so what's happening is it's going straight in, and then on another leg, imagine a tripod. I wish I had a diagram for this. I can't. I can see it in my head now. So there's the user, there's the producer, and there's the data center. So all information is being backed up to the data center, from producer to data center, and information is available to the user through behind a paywall from the producer. My idea is to put almost like an optional paywall on the data, not on all data, but on owned copyrighted data.
Like legacy material that is no longer used.
Right,
so
right,
you could,
exactly.
Like, categorize it, and Disney could say, look, this is all the stuff we're never going to use again. So if you want it, you can pay us $1 or $2 per episode or whatever it may be. And
right. Some small price, because I mean they're not looking to make money. The goal of this is not to make a lot of money. That's the direct connection between the producer and the user.
Mm-hmm.
But as a means of both funding the data center and of giving back to the producers for uploading to the data center. So it both funds the data center and gives interest and, I don't know, like a solid basing for companies to want to put into the data center. You put it behind an optional paywall for the user so that the companies decide, or the copyrighted material is decidedly behind that paywall. And I mean, you need a team of people to keep up with that and to make sure that, things are updated so that you don't have stuff that really shouldn't be behind a paywall. As soon as copyrights are released, like, that data is just released. Like, it's not behind the paywall anymore, because there is the huge free section of free information that everyone can access. Anyone can access that information. Windows 98, Windows 95, just operating system files, like, bam, they're all there. They're ready to go. But Hero to Zero from Disney.
It's Zero to Hero, but
Zero to
I like that.
Hero to Zero.
I'm sorry, falling of
I'm
Hercules.
sorry. I promise I watched Hercules a lot as a kid.
Anyways, continue.
Zero to Hero. For that kind of content, it's still copyrighted and the company still owns it. And ideally what we'd want is for the company to have some incentive to back up all their data on the data center, on the great monstrosity that we will create. Not actually create, but anyway.
Someone else will take care of it.
Right. And that'll give them reason to back it up. One, because they can get a small amount of gain from it, because it's behind a paywall. Like, people can, I would say set it up under the Disney head. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this is Disney's content. Like, we've contracted with Disney, and for $5 a month, you can access Disney's content. Or for $10 a month, you can access all of Disney's content. You can use it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can't download it, because that would mess up copyright, I think, maybe. But anyway, you'd have people contracting out these paywalls for people to access the data. And if there was no contract, then the copyrighted material could not be given to the user from the data center. Like, you'd have to have that. You'd have to have a contract already between the data center and the producer of the content to give that access, unless it's totally free of copyrights and totally free of ownership.
I think that would work. Again, the problem is all about the money.
Money.
Who's gonna set up the data center?
Right.
Who's gonna
and
make
so
sure it gets funded?
That's where the money for the data center comes from. Is from the users. I mean, initially building the data center, I think the good of humanity has to provide. has to scrounge up a couple dollars.
Kickstarter.
Yeah. using all of humanity to get us $30 billion for our data center. Like, we need this money. We need the data center. You guys don't understand.
Your
All
childhoods
this
could be destroyed if you don't.
Right, we need this thing, and you guys have to help us with this thing. And then once we have the Kickstarter that funds the entirety of the build of the data center, then it will continue to pay for itself via the user's subscription fees, because some of the subscription fees and some of the content fees will go towards the data center, keeping the data center power going. Make sure the power company doesn't shut down the power.
That's important.
That's really important. Keep the power going, keep the lights on, keep the janitors working, keep the people making contracts getting paid. People got to get paid. People got to make a living. Somebody's got to get paid. But really, no, the data center itself doesn't actually make a lot of money. It's not a growing company. It's just an entity that feeds itself, and that's all. It's fine. It's by itself. And then the leftover money from the different subscriptions goes out to the supplier of the content, so that they can be edified with money, which is what moves corporations. That's what moves corporations, is money.
I agree. Now we just need to start talking to some CEOs. Just get them in on this. I think they'll be pretty willing. I
think so. I can't see any reason why anyone would be sad about this, except for maybe the initial cost of building the data center. That's the only hurdle that I see. But I think a proper campaign done by, many nations together, get the United Nations in nostalgia. On this. Exactly, save nostalgia. We need this data center to save all of your childhood memories. This is what we need. And then we just contract out stuff and build an underground bunker that's safe and resistant and hidden well and secured, and just upload all the data that ever was, and then continue to upload, continue to expand.
I can see, leaders of great nations, coming to tears when they hear about the idea and realizing that their childhood could also be saved. Stern, gruff, tough leaders just bawling as they hear the idea. They immediately go and campaign themselves for this data center.
For the data center. and then we will raise the money necessary, because gosh by golly, it's not that much money when you're talking about nations. It's only $30 billion. That's not that much. Come on.
And that's based on our, large experience in building data centers. It's obviously going to be about $30 billion.
$30 billion, give or take, 40 trillion. I don't know. It's fine.
All right. Well, I'll talk to Russia if you'll talk to the United States and the EU. Or should we just meet at the UN? That's fair.
I think just the UN. That's the way to go.
Okay. Let's see if we can
maybe we might not get any movement from them, but I think the UN would be the place to start.
Should we see if we can get a time slot with them to present?
Yes. I know you're all wondering why I gathered you here together today. It's for nostalgia and the preservation of our childhoods.
Immediately, everyone in there coming to tears as they listen to you.
Right, as I give a stirring speech.
Wearing a T-shirt with the old Windows logo
on
it.
And you can just stand behind me with another the logo for 0 to Hero on another T-shirt. Just
the Promethean Academy.
Yes.
School flag.
This is all we need from you people. This is all we need. And if you can deliver, we will be forever grateful.
We keep saying that, but we're probably way younger than most of the people in the UN. We probably should be wearing
that's
70s
true.
or 60s stuff.
But
I don't know anything. We'll come to that bridge when we get that meeting set up.
Maybe the real solution is to wait till this podcast is a political force in the world, and then go back to episode 4 and say, friends, do you remember these things from the 90s? The time is out. we have to act now if we're going to save anything from the 90s. We'll be all old and, whatever. And then we can go to the UN and they will accept us willingly, not skeptically.
Because they'll be our age. And
Right. They'll all be our age. They'll all listen to the podcast. It'll be great. And we will move this mountain. We'll be like follow-up time on the podcast. We'll bring up follow-up and be like, hey, episode 4, guys. The time has come. We have to move.
We'll record the podcast at the UN meeting.
Like, you all can be live attendees.
We would all like you to be present for our follow-up about episode 4 from 25 years ago.
Yes, we will change this world for the better. That's the great goal of this endeavor.
All right, sounds good. We'll wait till then.
Shelf that one. I like it. That's a project for later. Those are always good. I like
Sounds
projects
good.
for later.
So, give me a second to gather my thoughts on this now.
Right. I can provide filler content if you need some time to gather your thoughts. I went to the store. I haven't been able to find my bubble gum lately. Like, I've been to the store several times, and my bubble gum has not been there, and it's been frustrating. Especially since the last pack I had, I ruined on accident, because we were at a family reunion, and there was a slide, like a big blow-up water slide, like a balloon, and I was convinced to get into the water, and I thought I got everything important out of my pockets. My phone, my keys, my wallet. I forgot about my bubble gum. And I got back to my house and took the bubble gum out of my pocket and threw it away because it was trashed. And I was so sad.
Well, thank you. That was great filler content. It didn't help me gather my thoughts at all because I was listening to your story.
Right.
But, sorry. Let's just jump right into it. I think the thoughts will come as we discussed it.
Okay. That's yes.
But we both agreed on the topic that is for this section, and it's basically why do people like texting so much, especially in the 20 to 30s age group. I guess the younger kids probably like it too. I don't know. They like Snapchat and other things like that. But
Snapstagram,
yeah. But anyways, I've always found texting very odd because, especially back in the day when you were hitting the keys multiple times to get the letters, where it's like, oh, you wanted the letter, L, well, you had to hit whatever key it was 2 times to get to it, or you had to get F, you had to hit the number 3, I think it was, 3 times. Anyways,
yeah,
very inefficient when it comes to trying to type words.
Right.
It's a little bit better now with smartphones, but it's always been super popular.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to send any form of long types of communication. And some people would argue, well, that's the point, is that it forces you to be brief. Right? Okay. You have to send really short things. You are only using it for simple reminders or simple conversations and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But there's people that have really long conversations on text messages regardless.
Right.
Anyways, that's not the thing that I find surprising. It's the fact that once a text is sent, there's no way to organize the text content in a simple traditional text message system. So for example, in like an email, this is something I do all the time. Someone sends me an email with a reminder saying, hey, can you send over that code or send over that document, yada, 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 whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to do it right then, but I will go and unmark that email and say mark it as unread.
Yeah.
And so that I remember to go back and actually do it.
Right.
You can put emails into different categories and different boxes.
Yeah.
And all sorts of cool things with email. There's programs you can download like Boomerang, which is awesome, where you can send an email and you can say, if this person doesn't reply, put the email back in my inbox. So I can say, if this person doesn't reply in 3 days, bring the email back to me to remind me that they haven't followed up or they haven't replied to this email.
Yeah, yeah.
So tons of awesome things with emails. You get to use keyboards with emails.
Amazing.
You can sync it to your phone, so it's just as effective as a text, right? But there's nothing like that with texting. I have not found any applications that I have found useful with texting for any type of organization. And so you're forced to read the text. And if you can't deal with the text right then, you have to make yourself you have to either memorize it in your brain and remember you have to do it later, or you have to like put it on your calendar or to-do list. And it's very annoying because you don't have any ways of intrinsically organizing the text messages effectively.
Right.
And so I don't understand why people like it, especially in work scenarios. I've had people that are like, oh, just text me. I'm like, for this? This is like a work problem, you know? So I don't understand it. Maybe because I usually use communication for work, not for the whole social aspect in most cases.
That's the problem right there.
But still, do you have any ideas? Are there things you like about texting? Because there's nothing I like about texting. Is there something? Is there some saving grace that I'm not understanding to texting?
So recently, as I told you earlier, I've had a similar problem with this exact problem where I've tried to get away from my brain to interpret the text system as like some way to organize the text system as a to-do list, like people I need to text back and things I need to do. But the problem is quickly becoming the same problem that I have on my computer, or my Facebook, where like I can use it for communication, but I'm on there every week and a half. Like I haven't been on, I got on my Facebook yesterday, which was the first time in like a week that I'd been on Facebook. And so it's people who send me, actually it was more, it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Because I had a message in there from like June, and I was like, oops, sorry. Because people send these things to me, and a lot of people treat the system, the messaging systems on Facebook as like a text system. And I have this constantly recurring problem where I have things I need to get done and communications I need to make via text. But I have the same problem where they just kind of fall by the wayside. I had this, you texted me earlier this week and about doing something, going out and playing tennis, and I looked at the text and I meant to respond to it, but I was busy, so I didn't want to mentally deal with it at that moment. Like I was doing something else. I didn't want to have to put my brain to work on replying to that text. So I just like closed my phone, put it back in my pocket. 4 days later, I'm like, oh, right. David texted me about something 3 days ago. Sorry. Like, I'm very sorry. And this is a constantly recurring problem that I also have, that email does do a lot better. The same thing. I do the same thing with my email. I get messages. I look at all the messages. And if there's a message that I need to reply to, but I can't reply to it at the moment, mark it as unread. It's at the top of the list every time. So I can see it, and it's constantly there, and it's constantly bugging me about how it needs to get done.
Two side comments really quick. First of all, I actually really like Facebook's Messenger.
Okay.
Because I have the app on my phone. And the thing I love about it, it doesn't have the whole organization thing, but it pops up with the person's face when they send you a message.
Okay.
And so if you can't reply to them right then, you can leave their little face on your phone.
Right.
So the next time you open up your phone, there's a little bubble with their face on it. And then you go, oh, yeah, I need to respond to that person as soon as possible, because they can also see that you read it. So that's a minor thing I don't like.
I really don't like that.
but I like that you can say, oh, yes, reminder right here, person I need to talk to is on my phone.
Okay.
So I can see it right away.
Okay.
Whereas once you've read a text, like if you don't make note, it's gone.
Yeah.
But the other comment I wanted to make, and maybe this by itself could be another discussion point.
Okay.
I don't understand how anyone can leave their inbox of email with like thousands of unread messages. That drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts.
It's chaos.
I don't understand. How does your brain use any useful information from your email if it has thousands of unread messages.
Right.
I don't get that. Even if like I don't want to read the email or find it useless, I
Mm-hmm.
just click on it and go back out so that it looks read, or delete it.
Yeah, or I'll have a big long list, and I know that none of them, I don't need any of them. Highlight all, mark as read. Done.
Yeah.
I don't even have to look at the emails. It's so fast and so easy to mark them all as read.
Yeah, so maybe we'll need to discuss the weird intricacies of people's email behavior later. But,
Okay.
but I agree. There's so many more effective ways of organization, of making sure you can communicate effectively with people. And texting seems like the bottom of that list in many, many aspects.
Right.
The one nice thing about it, compared to messenger systems like Facebook's or WhatsApp and those types of things, I've tried a lot of those. I don't like the fact that people can see that you've read it, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I may be busy, but I'm not trying to offend the person.
Right.
It's much more psychologically appealing to a person if they see that the person hasn't read the message. They just say, "Oh, they're busy," rather than they see that you read it and they still didn't reply. It still means they're busy, but it's a lot more like
oh, you
rude. Like you didn't have time.
Right.
You didn't have time to read my important message. How dare you?
My important cat video that I sent you.
So I guess my question is, should we improve texting? Because a lot of people seem to like it. Right. Or do we force texting to be abolished and find a better system that people have to switch to?
I mean, we could just abolish texting. I wouldn't mind. I'm not a good person to ask this question. Oh no.
iPhone 11 SMS not supported. They already got rid of the like headphone jack and stuff, right? So might as well just get rid of functionality in the phone.
Just I don't know. Although I do have thoughts on Facebook Messenger, and you're not going to be happy about the first one.
Okay.
It doesn't work on my phone. So that's a bother. Like, it's so slow that it bogs my whole system down, and I just immediately got rid of it. I was like, nope, not dealing with Facebook Messenger.
This goes back to a previous conversation that you may want to consider getting a new phone. But anyways, continue.
I know. The thing that I strive for with my phone, my computer though, is no notifications. And when the face pops up in the middle of what I'm doing, like I'm doing something on my girlfriend's phone and it's like, "Ba-doink," and it like does the whole message like right in my face. I'm like, excuse you? Like, I'm busy. I will get to you, little bubble, when I am done with my research on car logos, because that's what we were talking about one time. I am not talking to you right now. It infuriates me that it just like messages and like people trying to get my attention via these things bothers me so much. Unfairly. This is just strong feelings that I personally have, and it's not fair to put this on everyone else, but like I leave my phone on silent sometimes for long stretches of time just so that I don't have to like deal with ba-ding, ba-ding, ba-ding in the middle of whatever I'm doing. If I'm playing a game, if I'm hanging out with somebody else, if I'm with my girlfriend just sitting around on the couch and she's working on projects and I'm just sitting there, like I don't want to be bothered. I can't be bothered with stuff like that. Like I'll get to that when I have time to get to that.
I will agree with you that the popping up of the Facebook symbol is a little annoying because I'd rather check it, like you said, on my time.
Right.
But I'm willing to trade that for the other inconveniences that texting gives.
Okay, yeah.
But I agree with you on the silent thing as well. I have like a do not disturb mode set for my phone after like 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, yeah.
But it's essentially worthless because I've realized that I leave my phone on silent pretty much permanently.
So it's like, I will definitely not get disturbed. But, I mean, I probably won't get disturbed anyway because I never look at the thing anyway.
Yeah, so it's funny. There's been multiple times because I always make sure I turn it on silent when I'm teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's been many times where I've gone in the morning to my classroom, and my phone's still on silent from the previous day. I'm like, oh, I never bothered to turn this off.
Right.
So.
Well, I don't know. I take a very strong stance on that, but that's because, like, I care very strongly about my attention. And, like, I only have so much attention to give. I only have so much time to give. And gosh, by golly, I don't want to be spending all my time with useless messages. And I don't know. It's also that, like, it's not fair. It's not fair. I'm being unfair to everyone and everything. It's not fair. I agree with that methodology, though, of the Facebook Messenger, using that as a reminder. That's great. I really like that. I don't know. I didn't think of that before. I think the only problem I have with that is that it does pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it would only pop up when I turned on my phone, like, that would be good. Like, it's like I turn on my phone, all the pop-ups come, and then I can respond to each of them individually, or ignore all of them and keep doing whatever I'm doing on my phone.
Yeah.
I think I could get on board with that. I don't know. I have a lot of interesting feelings in this regard, but I'm not a great person to ask this question, because I do take a very strong stance that, like, I don't want anything to bother me. Like, my email's the best because it is clear, like, what I need to respond to and what I don't, and I can save that in a meaningful format. Texting is just, I lose so much via my text, but the problem is that so many things are coming up on text, work stuff and important social stuff and important reminders, and important questions, they're all coming up. And the problem with putting your phone on silent all the time is that you're not available. You lose that availability that the cell phone does gain you. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody needs your help immediately, like, I had the same problem the other night. My sister, like, needed my help with something. Didn't see the message till, like, 4 hours later. And it was just like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm so sorry. But I can't help it, because that's how my phone is. Like, I just choose not to look at my phone. And
so it sounds like you haven't thought about a solution per se as much as I have, because I've pondered on this quite a bit.
So you've got ideas.
Let me give you my short-term solution that I actually use.
Okay, yeah.
So you may have noticed that my phone number changed a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And so I've been actually using Google Voice.
Okay.
And part of this is because Google Voice works on the computer.
Right.
Which is beautiful, because it means, like, you can use a keyboard, which is lovely.
I agree.
But the other reason is that, kind of the problem you were stating, I would sometimes turn my phone off the silent mode, or on to whatever normal mode is, I guess. I don't know what that's called.
Right.
Turn off the silent mode.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter, though, if people were trying to reach me, because I sit in a dead spot.
Oh, really?
In my research lab. And, like, my phone has no bars anyways. So it only gets Wi-Fi. So it only gets the emails, which is what I can see anyways on the computer. So it wasn't helping me.
Right.
So I got Google Voice because I can use the keyboard and I can send over Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So I don't have to have cell service, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I've been telling people to use that number instead, because if they need to text me for any reason, and for emergencies especially, then I can see it more quickly, because I'm already working on the computer, and it pops up as a little notification on the computer, which is much less distracting than having to pull out my phone every once in a while and say, oh, did anyone text me? No, I'll put it back.
Right.
You know? And so that's way more effective. But the one problem still that's a problem with texting is there's no way to organize it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done with Google Voice is it has, like, on the side all your different text messages, and then the actual messages in the center window.
Okay.
So I've just, like, tried to scroll that bar over or slide that window over so I can see as much of the text as possible. And then I just kind of guess what their text message is about without actually reading it. So I can leave it unmarked, and then I can go back to it when I can and can deal with it. But it's all based right now on my ability to guess people's text message content purely off of the first couple words in the text message.
Do you feel this has worked out well for you?
It actually has worked pretty well, all things considering.
I don't really see many problems. It's pretty easy to guess what people are texting you about. Like, unless it's, like, some random number, it's like, sure, I know what they're talking about. You know, I text you, are we still good for... Of course, we're still good for the podcast. We're always good for the podcast.
Yeah. Of course, those types of ones are pretty quick to respond to, but...
That's true. Yeah. That's true. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah. And then I just get back to work right away. So
Right.
it's worked out pretty well for me. I don't think that's the global long-term solution.
No,
that people learn to predict other people's text messages so they don't have to look at them beforehand.
Right.
Leave them unmarked.
Yeah.
I guess my real solution is just, why don't we allow text systems to be organized like emails?
Okay.
Because obviously some people don't organize their emails and don't care to.
Yeah.
But for those of us like me
Right,
that
right.
need to have organization and structure in their life to have
Right.
any type of functionality, why are you not providing those capabilities
Right.
in the text message system?
Well, and I can see it would be pretty easy. You just like take a message, highlight that message specifically, or that text string, that string of messages, and just take that and like have a checkbox where you can just check it,
Yeah.
and that checkbox marks it as like a come back to this. Like it basically looks like it's unread all of a sudden, but you've read it. You know what it says already because you have the first couple words, and then you just whoop, and then it'll be at the top of your feed.
Yeah.
Forever. Actually, one thing I started to do for people that I needed to text, but I hadn't texted in a while, because it's organized by like who you've had your last contact with.
Mm-hmm.
So like you were at the top, and then there's my girlfriend, and then there's on and on my mom and whoever else I was texting. And one thing that I do to put people at the top of my feed to remember to text them back is I'll start typing a draft. I'll write up some kind of draft like, hey, and then it comes to the top, and the problem is that it says draft hey instead of what the content of the message is, but I can see the person and I know what they need. So that's another short-term solution that I've been using.
I like that. That is tricky.
Yeah.
That is clever.
Thank you.
All your text messages start with, hey man, I saw your text, ... Even if it's your mom, hey man, I saw your text.
Hey man. Actually, that would be, if I can figure out a way to do like pre-recorded texts, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like highlight the text box for me to put text into. Highlight the text box and then have a list pop up of most common responses. Like, okay, you got it, I'll be there. All these like responses that I could just select one and send it, and then I don't have to deal with the swipe function on my keyboard that always guesses exactly the wrong thing every single time. Not every single time, but it feels like every single time when it's 4 times in a row.
My phone actually does that, but I don't like it because it doesn't let you edit. So if you use the most common response, like, okay, you can't put anything after that.
You can't put any extra.
So it's like, so it's essentially useless.
Yeah. And that's the problem. You need you need to be able to determine your own pre-recorded responses.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned that, though, because since I've been using Google Voice, I've been also using an app called Trello.
Okay.
Have you heard of this app before?
I've heard the word before, but
it's one of those online organization systems, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
Where you basically have little boxes that are like to-do lists.
Yeah.
I think they call them cards or decks or something. I can't remember.
Okay.
And under each one of those, you can put individual tasks.
Yeah.
And you can put comments on the tasks, and you can add files and all these things for organization.
Okay.
I really like it for a lot of things.
Okay.
But one of the things I have been using it for the most is I put people's names on the Trello cards, and then I put common things I need to tell them or like responses I give to them in the Trello cards.
What?
Or like messages.
Right.
Sometimes I'll like pre-type a message in there to make sure it's all worded correctly, and then I'll copy it and paste it into Google Voice.
Into the Google and send it as a message.
So it's been really nice. It's really helpful. Like if I'm constantly talking to someone about, going to play Ultimate Frisbee or something, I just have like the generic version of inviting someone to go play Ultimate Frisbee, and then I'll just copy and paste it over.
Right.
The text message and adjust it if needed.
Right, like change the name maybe. Like put a name in there.
So that's actually worked really well. So I like.
Okay.
I love having the computer available for texting because it just makes it so much easier. But we just need. I would be just tremendously happy if someone would simply add a mark as unread button to text messages.
Yes.
There's so many other things you could do, but that one would make it 90% better than it already
Right.
is.
Well, then I'd be on par with email, because that's all that email affords me is the ability. Well, and also the social pressure, like the social standing of the email. Like email is actual like mail, so I feel like I can respond to it whenever. But like
Right.
texts are like, I treat them almost as like well, there's two ways you can treat them. They sit kind of in the middle of like a conversation and an email. They sit in the middle between those two, and I treat them more like an email, whereas people generally want me to treat it more like a conversation. Like, hey,
Right.
I have this question, answer it right now, not when you feel like it.
They want it to be synchronous, but it's supposed to be asynchronous.
Right.
All digital communications should be asynchronous,
Right.
in my mind.
Short of video calls, actual calls.
Yeah.
Via the...
That's true. That'd be a little weird. You Skype someone, they're just ignoring you the entire time.
Right. Right. Or you Skype a message and you wait for their response. Skype message via your Skype messaging system, like you send a video message and then they send a video message back. I couldn't think of anything more painful.
Have you used Marco Polo?
No.
Okay, this will be its own conversation. We don't have time right now. That may be the only thing I like less than texting is Marco Polo.
Really?
It's exactly what you just described. It's asynchronous video chat.
No, I don't want to see their face if I'm not talking to them.
Exactly.
Right this moment.
Exactly. I'm glad you understand. Oh, it's so painful.
I mean, it does solve some problems, like tone and communication of tone, but I feel like if you just text somebody enough, like you get the tone pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then if there's a concern, there's a question, you sound like a jerk in one text, you just bring it to your friend. You're like, hey friend, what did you mean when you sent this to me?
Yeah.
And then they'll be able to explain it. You don't need to have a video.
Well, we have to talk about that later.
Another
There's
time,
so many
another time.
beeps I have with that. I can't describe it right now.
Right. I understand.
But again, there's plenty of things you could do to make texting better. But there's just a really simple one of add the mark as unread button.
Unread button.
That's all we need. If
Right.
someone could get on that, that'd be great.
Right.
Because
That would be
100 times happier in my communication with the world.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be just right. Short of
Total social upheaval and changing how we
Well,
view the world.
I mean that would work too. I was thinking more like Google predictive analytics that will text for you when you don't feel like texting. Like a message comes and like Google has seen you text this person enough times that like they just kind of know what you're probably gonna say. And so they provide like a little box, like you have your text box or you have another box that's already like a pre-written message. And you can select the pre-written message and it'll just send it.
I like that. Then I could remove myself entirely from the world, and everyone would just be communicating with a robot that's set up to sound like me.
Right, a robot that communicates exactly like you do via text. It's perfect. I think I'd prefer that. That'd
That'd be nice.
If it was good, if it was better than their swipe feature. Man, the Google's keyboard swipe. Some days I type asbestos, and you know what it does? It puts an A. Like, Google, at least put enough letters to make for how many swipes I did. I did like a whole 10 swipes, and you put one letter.
If we could get the robot responding like us well enough, that'd be great, because then I could just spend the rest of my time playing Windows 98 games on that cloud server.
Right, on the data center cloud server that's also running Google Voice systems, because immensely powerful.
Yeah. It's the data center to end all data centers.
Of course. What is a data center short of just a place to hold digital information? And that's all we're doing. We're holding all the digital information.
It'll solve all the problems.
And then we don't have to talk ever again.
And then
That sounds
we'll just
beautiful.
have robots texting back and forth to each other.
And we will do exactly what we do. You will show up to my house ready to go for the podcast Saturday morning. Either way, because Google will already put it in your calendar.
Oh,
It'll say, okay, well, you've got this thing scheduled for this time and this thing scheduled for this time. And it'll only consult you if there's a conflict. Like,
Right.
oh, hey, you got somebody who wants to do this and somebody who wants to do this. And eventually it'll also learn, when you want to do what.
Yeah.
And pretty soon
Perfect.
we will just do what we want. We will just follow the schedule that is laid out for us by Google that has been constructed. Like there's appointments and then there's free time. You got to make your appointments because Google told them that you'd be there, but your free time is yours to do with what you wish.
And it sounds like to people that are listening that this may be like constraining because it's making all these appointments for you, but you save so much more time because you don't have to take the time to communicate with people to make those appointments.
Right. Exactly. Like it's perfect. It's a self-learning system, and it'll solve the great problems that we truly have in this world.
And then I can play Batman all day.